Now we're going to start working on that dome shape. The reason we do a dome on this is because it's opaque. You can do what's called a faceted cabochon. I do have the equipment for that. Again, different topic. This video could spread into 1,000 different topics, so I'm just trying to keep it simple. Turn our water on, and we're going to cut a bevel down to our girdle. Looking for symmetry, trying to keep it close. This is the part that I'm not great at. Once that looks pretty good, you can see I dipped into my girdle there just a little bit. We're going to continue to round the top. We'll get a good bit of stone on top there. This is pretty much the cutting and shaping. It's pretty close. I'm going to move it down to the other side and start the, the finish and the polish. I don't consider myself a skilled cabochon creator by any stretch of the word. So we had 80, 220, soft 220, 600. This to me is the most important one. This is where you get all the scratches out from the shaping. And then 1200 and then 3000. And then from there, depending on the stone, your process changes. Just using the light to twist and look at the differences in the texture of the surface. It's highlighting my poor cutting for sure, but the surface is looking pretty consistent. So I'm going to move on to the final wheel. Okay, we're going to go pop this in the freezer and get it off the wax. Easy step, we just pop it in here with some frozen turkey. Let that thing set for about 15 minutes and it'll fall right off that wax. is the first finished one. I'll say the cut is a B minus. The reason I say that is when I roll it, you can see, it's probably not going to show up in the video, but you can see the reflection warp unevenly. So I've got a little bit of unevenness in the surface, but cabs are not my thing. It's not what I do on the regular. And it's also hard to do this while you're recording it. Camera's in the way, trying to position so the camera can see what you're doing. So, the camera does make it harder. The other thing, too, I've noticed some people will go for their best possible, brightest, shiniest polish. I stopped this one at 3000. I can already tell that I'm having a hard time in the video actually seeing the rock because it's so shiny that it's showing the reflection more than it is the rock. Now, with my bare eyes, it looks better, looks pretty good. The recording's making it a little bit worse, but I could go shinier with this polish. I stopped at 3000. Some people go to 50, 60,000, and at that point, it's so reflective you can't see the art of the stone. So I'm going to stop that one at 3000. That's pretty good. Hopefully that's showing up in the video. I'll try to take some stills if it doesn't. But, that's pretty good for just a rock in the desert. Now, I want to show you something that's really good. Push that aside. This is what it looks like when you have someone that knows what they're doing create a completely finished cabochon. So you can see the reflection is pretty good. I mean, it's got a good polish, but it isn't drowning out the stone. This is some original ocean jasper. But the person that made this also did the metalwork, the silversmithing. And one of the things I want to point out is just the quality of the metalwork. Look at the evenness of the cab, the bevel, how it hugs the stone evenly, very symmetrical. That's a professional grade cab. Okay. I bought this from an old retired couple, well, semi-retired. They actually live in the Big Bend area now, and this is kind of what they do in their retirement. This is skill, not just the silversmithing, but the cutting and everything. This is something that this is what you pay for. The material itself is hard to come by. Matter of fact, this is the original ocean jasper, so it's gone. You can't get any more of it. It's old stock that's left. And then the silversmithing is just top notch. I can't do that. That's a skill in and of itself. That's an art. So that's an excellent cab. This is a meh. That's a B cab. Okay. So if you go to a trade show or an art show or something, and you see people selling stuff like this, and it's fairly expensive. These are not cheap. Understand what you're looking at. Um, they have to obtain the material, whether they mined it, bought it, drove to the middle of nowhere to get it. And some of the material is not cheap. This ocean jasper is not cheap, especially the original stuff. Then they have to process the material down. Then they have to create the cab, as you've seen. They've even done the back of this one. And even the silversmithing alone, I invite you to go out and look up a silversmithing video and just see the work involved in creating something that good. So when I see something that's done this well, I don't mind paying extra money for it. It didn't come out of China. It didn't come out of a sweatshop. It didn't come off an assembly line. Someone took the time to develop the skills to create this, and to me, that's worth paying for. So this is an example of a good cab, just so you can compare. And I'll show you a couple other examples here before we move on. This is another one I made. I still have to finish it. The back's not done. This is lapis lazuli. Hopefully the camera's picking it up really well. I did this one without recording it, and it turned out quite a bit better. My shape's better, the dome's better, everything about it is better than the one I just made. But this is not being created to be sold, so I didn't have to be exact on a lot of the measurements. This is going to be displayed as an example of some of the material I sell. So part of what I do with my business is obtain in bulk a lot of these materials that are hard to get. This one, for example, is from Afghanistan, and then I cut it up, some of it, to proper cab thicknesses, already even and sliced on both sides, so that you don't have to worry about having the equipment of the flat lap, the big saws, all that. You can take the material I sell and go straight into a cab. So there's an example of lapis lazuli. That is dendritic chrysoprase. I actually don't have a lot of this. I didn't buy this one in bulk. This is blue plume agate. That is a orbicular jasper from India. I did not buy this in bulk. I just thought it was really cool, so I bought a chunk of it, cut it up, and cut it into a cab. This is chrysoprase. I do have quite a bit of this. It's very difficult material to work with. I screwed this one up. I'm going to have to redo it. Bumblebee jasper. I do have quite a bit of this. Really neat stuff. This comes from one place in the world, Indonesia, a specific volcano in Indonesia. That is Serape jasper. That's plume agate. I actually found this out of Nevada, just camping. I got quite a bit of this up cut up. I have a lot of other mounted materials that I have to finish cutting. These are all going to be examples of materials that I sell. That's why I'm creating a lot of these. We will continue on with just the ones that I found, though, just so we can show the story of what does it take to drive out into the desert and turn a rock into something ugly into something pretty. Now, I don't know if you remember the earlier part of the video, but they were just black, nasty, ugly rocks. And look at that purple, orange, red. That's I really like that one. It turned out really well. Several pieces are cut now. I'm not going to show you the front yet, but on the back, they're not very pretty. That's just the raw cut, so that's normal. A lot of people will leave it like this. If this was going to get mounted in like a closed back mount, it wouldn't matter. I've seen some really nice pieces that are done with an open back mount where you can see the back, and some people bring them to a full polish. I'm not going to bring it to a full polish, but I'm going to clean it up so it doesn't quite look like that. And I'm going to use a flat lap for that. This is like an 80 grit cutting wheel. I'm not going to use an 80 grit cutting wheel because, again, we're not trying to remove material. We just want to neaten that back up a little bit. I do have laps that go all the way up to 50,000 grit on this, but we're not going to do that again. I just want to clean up the back some. So we're going to skip forward here and do some cleaning up. I'm stopping at 280 because I just wanted to clean the back up. I'll show you an example of what I mean by clean the back up. Here's one that's not been touched up at all. You can see the marker still around the outline. Sometimes there's even a little bit of wax stuck on there. I just don't want that. This is one that I just cleaned up. It took it to 280. Yeah, it's a little scratched up and stuff. It's not polished at all, but I don't have any marker or no wax on there. Now from here, if it was going to be an open back mount, I would just keep going and take this to a full polish. But that's a whole lot of time and effort for something that probably isn't going to be back mounted. So we're just going to roll with just a cleaned up back like that for now. I don't have any examples of a fully polished back. Because what I've been doing with this is polishing like Alamejo agates and stuff like that, trying to get a really flat finish. All those are boxed up right now. But to get a full polish with this is significant time investment. So for now, we're just cleaning up the backs, getting the wax off, getting the marks off, and that's it. If I want to polish it later, I'll polish it later. Time for the reveal. I'm going to use gloves just because the fingerprints can smudge and make the surface look a little bit worse, especially when you're using a close-up light and a not so good camera. I'm recording this on my phone, so hopefully it turns out decent. Now, all of the specimens I'm about to show were collected by me in the beginning of the video, so nothing here has been added in. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at these, all those ugly rocks I was picking up in the beginning. Some people take these to a higher than 3,000 finish. Some of them I don't like taking higher than 3,000 because they actually get too shiny. If you're looking in a mirror, it defeats the purpose. I want it polished. I don't want a mirror. So many of these, I stopped at 3,000 because it was enough. A couple of them I took higher. Um, yeah, I don't like them to look like a mirror. I like them to be polished, pretty. I hope the camera's able to pick up the color in this. See, I'm getting a reflection from the ring, and so it's almost too shiny to record here. So hopefully this turns out. I'll try to take some stills too to see if that's better. Oop, I got a chip. Great. I'm not the greatest cutter, so don't judge me too harshly. And I did rush these a little bit just because I had a whole bunch of them to do. I was trying to get this video done. The darker ones are harder to see with this, just the lighting's not great, but these darker ones are my favorite. They turned out great. Just all the colors that are in them. You can kind of see just a little bit there in the middle. I got a bit of a scratch. Didn't quite round that one out. So if this was a commissioned piece or something I was actually going to prep for mounting in jewelry, I would go back and grind that out and finish that back up too. But for now, for this purpose, it's fine. All that color, I hope that's turning out. This one I was a little disappointed in. It's one I actually took higher than 3,000, just trying to get more of that color to come out in the pattern. It's kind of neat. You can see it with the naked eye, but I don't think it's going to turn out in the video really well. Sometimes you'll have that. You cut them that'll look great, and then you actually start to form it, and it turns out to be meh. Now, these are awesome. They're purple. I hope it's showing up. You get that purple with the red down the middle. This one's my favorite. Unfortunately, I had two of these cut from the same piece, and I dropped the second one, and it shattered. So now I have just this one. It's also purple. There's orange and the red. This one's my favorite out of the bunch. Yeah, I'll throw some stills on there. But there's still a bunch more material. That's probably a result of the third of the material that I thought was actually good enough to go to this stage. I still have some more pieces over here that can be cut down into some more. So there's still some more material, and I have some prepped. There's no one of the fractured orange ones, or I call them fractured. It's actually solid. So there's still some more to cut, but wanted to get these done to show what the process is. First you pick it up, you cut it down, you work through it, and you end up with something like this.